Hi again. In this lecture, let's explore Google IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management. First, what is Google Cloud IAM? It basically helps you to define who has what access for which resource. And the reason you need it is to adopt the security principle of least privilege. By giving the user only the needed permission, you secure environment bit more, hence it actually helps you with that. And to manage it, you can manage using console, API or G-Cloud. Now let's explore the concept of IAM. Basically, if you just follow who has what access for which resource, this explanation will be easier to understand. Let's dissect the who part. The who part can be a Google account, just a normal Gmail account, or it can be a service account. A service account is also known as a machine account because you're giving permission to the virtual machine or to your application. For example, you can give the virtual machine, read access to the cloud storage bucket where you can store pictures and videos, and the machine can read from there instead of you putting your username and password in your application. And then Google Group. Google Group basically helps you to combine a list of users, and the user can be a Google account or a service account. And then we have G Suite domain and Cloud Identity domain. Both G Suite domain and Cloud Identity domain represents a virtual group of users in an organization. And then we have two special identifiers here, which is all authenticated users, basically anybody in the internet with a Google account or a service account, and then all users, basically anyone in internet with or without a Google account. Now, the two identifiers, all authenticated users and all users, can be a bit confusing. So let's see some use cases here. Let's say you're traveling the world, and then you finish traveling the world, and then you have taken a lot of pictures, and you want the whole planet to see those pictures, and you're kind enough to share those pictures. So what you do on that case is you upload your pictures to Google Cloud, and then you can give all users permission to that particular bucket where you store all your pictures, so anybody in internet can see those pictures. On the other hand, if you want to restrict those users, only authenticated users, anybody with a Gmail account, then you can give all authenticated users. Now here is a bit of advice from Yoda. Basically, do not grant all users identifiers certain permissions like set IAM policy, create or delete, because that's a pretty bad idea. Now we have seen the who part. Let's see the what part. And the what part actually helps you to identify what kind of access to give to that resource, right? And in here you have a role, and then role has a list of permissions here. If you see the permissions here, permissions take the form service, resource, web, and permissions basically decide whether to allow a piece of action on that particular resource here. Now Yoda has got another piece of advice for you. You do not directly grant user permission, which means if you have a user Bob, then you can't pick some permission from here and assign to user Bob. What you can do instead is you just assign that role to user Bob here. Now there are three types of roles. We already saw one role called predefined role. This definitely helps with our sanity, because what Google has done is Google has created a ton of predefined roles, and you can just pick and use one of them. And if that's not enough, then you can use a primitive role. This is called primitive role because this existed before Cloud IAM, so your owner, editor, and viewer will continue to work. And then custom roles. If you need a custom role, then you can just create one. And Yoda has got another piece of advice here. A caller must have IAM roles.create permission to create custom role. And to create a custom role is pretty easy. You basically create a new role and give it a name, and then you assign necessary permission to the new role, and then you create a user and assign that role. Now let's explore IAM policy hierarchy. Think of IAM policy hierarchy like a waterfall. Water flows from top to bottom naturally. In your policy hierarchy, IAM follows a very similar principle. So if you just apply a policy at the organization level, then it flows to all your projects and to your resources as well. And IAM policy hierarchy also follows a parent-child relationship. and in this case the child cannot override a parent as well. What I mean is, if I have a user called Bob and if I make Bob the editor of example dev, this means that user Bob has complete access to the compute engine, app engine, cloud storage, and every other resources under the project level. Now let's say I create a custom role, but this time this custom role only has the permission to list compute engine instance, right? And then I assign the same user Bob to that custom role as well, because I can, and you can actually do that. Now, do you think user Bob can delete the instance? Because I have specified user Bob the custom role, which can only list the VM, but I haven't really given him permission for the custom role. But note that we did give user Bob the editor role as well. So yes, he can delete all the virtual machines under the compute engine and every other resources, right? Because user Bob has this editor role, and since this role is applied at the project level, or in this case at the parent level, the parent overrides the child. Now let's see some demo and we go from there.